Good evening to you all. Thank you for committee. Thank you for attending this evening. I just have to inform you that if we hear the alarm going off, straight out the door, please, and over to the car park. Right. Apologies for absence. We have an apology from Roger Whitfield, who's not with us, and he is being substituted by David. And I propose that David joins us and has voting rights, seconded by Mariam. All in favour of David joining us, subbing? Thank you very much. Welcome, David. Declaration of councillors' interests and requests for dispensations. I have nothing to declare.
Nothing to declare.
Bob?
Nothing to declare?
No, not to know of.
Nothing to declare.
None that I'm aware of.
Thank you. To consider and approve the minutes from the last meeting, March the 5th. Are you all in agreement that they are signed as a true record of that meeting? You've read them all, thank you. The proposer, Mariam, seconded. Bob, all in favour of the minutes being approved? Thank you. To receive the Chair's reports, 5.1, planning application fees in England will be increased from 1st of April, yesterday. Further details can be found online. Forthcoming fees for planning applications in England. Welcome, Tim. And 5.2, report received from the former PCAA, Parish Councils Airport Association Chairman, following her attendance to an Aviation Environmental Federation webinar on the 5th of March regarding Bristol Airport expansion. The report is available from the Town Council office. Public participation. Are you wishing to speak to us? Would you like to come forward? Just for the record, usual thing, your name and put your mic on, Justin.
Good start. Justine Flower.
Thank you.
I'm speaking about two applications. So if I do the window one first, which is 0404. That 0404 is the window one. And you've had some papers circulated to you. So I'm speaking today on behalf of all Glenorchy neighbours. This application is to gain agreement that window can be positioned as proposed under permitted development guidelines without requiring planning permission. We believe that the proposal does not adhere to permitted development guidelines, that it should be a full planning application for the following reasons. There are different permitted development guidelines for front-facing windows compared to side-facing windows. However, due to the unique positioning of the properties, see slides 1 and 2, it means that the impact of the proposed window on neighbours is far greater than a typical front-facing window. And we understand this means that the application should be reviewed in conjunction with planning history and local planning policies. The reason the rules are more lenient for front-facing windows is because they're assumed to overlook public areas rather than private rear gardens and habitable rooms, which is not the case here. They do overlook them, as has confirmed in the 2023 and 24 applications for Glenorchy that were both refused by NSC. Slide 3 shows details of the 2024 application that was refused in December, and slide 4 shows details of the 2023 refusal. Overlooking from windows was one of NSC's specific refusal points for both of these applications. The proposed window in this permitted development application is the same elevated distance from Copper Cliffs and Ship Lanes as in these applications, and again fails on the 45-degree line of sight from these properties. As such, we therefore believe that the application should be reviewed in conjunction with these two refused applications and resubmitted as a full planning application. To reinforce our thoughts on this, we have noted that whilst for Certificate of Lawful Development applications, the planning practice guidance is that per section 2.3, whether on the facts of the case and relevant planning law, the specific matter is or would be lawful, there are, however, various case laws and precedents overturning the criteria where overlooking is concerned, and we believe the same would apply here. There's several examples on your thing I circulated, but a couple here. 2023 Fern v Trustees of the Tate Gallery. The Supreme Court ruled that overlooking can be a private nuisance if it is abnormal and unexpected and causes substantial visual interference. It agreed that neighbours should not be left feeling that they are on display in a zoo due to constant visual intrusion, and that it would not be fair for neighbours to have to resort to closed blinds, curtains or privacy film to ensure their privacy. The Human Rights Act states that everyone has basic right to privacy in their garden, i.e. the right to a personal life away from scrutiny, which includes anything that makes a person feel intruded upon. In 2021, R.V. Gedling Borough Council, this addressed how overlooking and privacy impacts are considered in planning decisions. It reinforced that a loss of privacy can be a material consideration when permitted development is claimed. And 2015, Turner versus Secretary of State for Communities and Local Government reinforced that even when a development falls under permitted development, local authorities can refuse or restrict it via conditions if it causes harm, such as overlooking or loss of privacy. Thank you. Window. Fencing now. Oh, sorry. Right. In terms of the fences application, in the document that's circulated, I've annotated the plan on slide 1 to show areas A, B, C, etc., where we currently have various boundary treatments around the plot. The photos on slides 2, 3 and 4 align to these different areas. This application is to gain agreement that fences can be positioned as proposed under permitted development guidelines without requiring planning permission. On behalf of all neighbours, I confirm that we believe that the proposal does not adhere to permitted development guidelines and that it should be a full planning application for the following reasons. Difference in land levels. There are many areas where the land levels differ each side of the fence between Glenorchy and neighbours. 2-metre fences on the Glenorchy side would be more than 2 metres on the neighbour's side, overbearing and oppressive, and also in some places blocking daylight to habitable rooms. We understand if the height is more than 2 metres on the lower side, full planning permission is required. This is applicable to reference points B, C, F, G and K. Prior planning approvals. Under a previous planning approval for Copper Cliffs, fencing, metal railings and trees and bushes were approved as part of an extremely strict and monitored landscaping condition. We understand that any request to change something that has been previously approved by planning needs to be by a new full planning application. This is applicable to reference points D, E, F and G. Appropriate materials. Current fences on the boundary of Copper Cliffs and Glenorchy are a mix of hit and miss storm-proof fences, picket and metal fences and sumac trees, all of which are excellent for coastal areas and key here given the raised elevation in exposure to the southwesterly prevailing storms, far more exposed than any other property on Lake Road. Fencing between Glenorchy and Ship Lanes is also hit and miss storm-proof fencing. The closed board fences proposed from experiences prior to installing the current fences do not survive very long in this location. Portishead character area. The sumac trees and holm oak, all 30 to 40 plus year old, are highly visible from the lake grounds and the Portishead Bay, one of the 4 character areas in the Portishead neighbourhood plan. Timber fencing is not visible on any other property in the view from the Portishead Bay. It would be highly visible here. These trees provide excellent screening and are highly resilient to the gale force winds, far more so than any fencing. So environmental and biodiversity impact. 2-metre fencing would result, therefore, in an excessive and unnecessary harm to biodiversity. In many of the proposed 2-metre areas, 30 to 40 plus year old trees would have to be removed or reduced by more than 50%. This is applicable to reference points A, B, D, E and F. We understand that permitted development is rarely agreed at the expense of mature trees. Precedent. No other property in Lake Road, including those others where the verge is owned by the property owners, has the grass verge fenced off. This particular grass verge is also home to a street lamp and underground telecoms cables. Other points to note. First of all, shared boundaries. Boundaries to the north and south of Glenorchy are shared boundaries with direct neighbours Copper Cliffs and Ship Lanes, as confirmed on the deeds. Both neighbours have advised the applicants that they are willing to discuss fencing and have explained the reason for different treatments around the boundaries. Offers to discuss have not been taken up. We understand that shared ownership overrides any certificate of lawful development, so even if the proposal is agreed to be lawful, neighbours still need to agree anything or it cannot be done. Intention. Sections 3.1 and Section 3.5C of the planning statement are contradictory. There's also no mention at all about trees. Therefore, it is not clear whether the proposal outline would be to replace existing fencing where it currently sits on the boundary or to install a new separate fence. And if the latter, how far inside the boundary? We understand the normal distance is 1 metre. Either fencing position would have the same impacts in all the areas outlined above. Given all these reasons, Direct Neighbours believe that this should not be a certificate of lawful development application, but rather a full planning application for either fencing in the current position or additional fencing further inside the boundary. However, for either type of approval, we do not, as shared boundary owners, agree to the proposal as it stands. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Flower. Right. I failed to do something, which is declarations of interest, Tim. None that you're aware of, thank you. And I also failed to introduce Mike, who's dealing with our technology this evening. Thank you, Mike, for being present, and Sharon online. Right, so we'll move on to the planning applications and start with the two that have been discussed. 0404 LDP, and this is for the installation of the window in the west elevation of the dwelling. I think initially I would just like to read something out in relation to the certificates of lawful development, which I think we need to bear in mind when we're discussing or making any further comments. The granting of an LDP applies only to the lawfulness of development in accordance with planning legislation. Therefore, North Somerset Council needs to consider whether on the facts of the case and the relevant planning law, the specific matter is or would be lawful. And frankly, in my opinion, this is complex. And I feel, therefore, that the professionals down at North Somerset should be dealing with it. We can certainly make comments in relation to what we've heard and what we know about this application and the following one. The window in question, it certainly, because of its elevated position, certainly has an impact, as we've heard, on the two neighbouring properties, which are much lower down. And in both instances, it fails the 45-degree rule. So I propose that we object to this LDP. Yes, of course.
Oh, sorry, Justine. I'm going to have to ask you to come back. I just wonder, obviously, I thank you, and I'm sure the rest of the councillors thank you for the in-depth presentation that you've made. I'm just wondering if you've actually spoken to any district councillors. Have they given you any advice, or have they given you any indication that they feel they would like to support?
I have spoken to a a property solicitor, and well, people around this table have been to the house.
I was just going to say, I mean, yeah, clearly this is very complex, but I think one easy thing for me here coming to this new was that the placement of this window was listed as part of the refusal for a previous planning application.
Yes, you're quite correct.
And in view of that, it seems, our steer has to be to refer to North Somerset and not to support it.
Okay. Any further comments from committee? So it's been proposed and seconded. All those in favour of objection? Abstention?
Abstention.
Abstention. Mike? Abstention. The second of the two, 0405 LDP again, certificate of lawful development for the proposed erection of fences around the north and south boundary of the garden, not exceeding 2 metres in height, and new fences erected on the western frontage of the site around a grassy roadside verge, not exceeding 1 metre in height. again, as we've heard, the precedent has not occurred on Lake Road. No one else has enclosed this small section of land at the front. We'll start at the front. And the fact that there are services under the verge plus the lamp standard strikes me as being a very odd thing to request to do. In relation to the other fencing, we've heard also that in certain circumstances on those boundaries, fences will appear to be higher than the 2 metres and have an overbearing effect on the adjoining properties. And the neighbours themselves, as we have also heard, are in joint ownership of those boundaries, and they haven't been consulted on this matter as yet. And so therefore, again, I feel that this is an objection in relation to this LDP request, an application. So again, I'm happy to propose that objection, seconded by Tim. Any comments from the floor? David?
I walked down Lake Road earlier today and looked at the frontages of the houses, and it would indeed look very odd to fence in the front of that particular, well, any stretch of Lake Road, because at the moment they're all grass verges. It would be out of keeping with an area of Portishead that is greatly loved by many people. And the second issue, it just seemed very sad that from reading the objections online that the owners of the property haven't consulted with their neighbours about something that is a neighbourly issue, and wondered whether some form of mediation or something along those lines could be put in place to try and resolve what sounds like is becoming a very difficult situation for all involved.
Thank you, David. Bob?
Yeah, I actually second that. I think mediation from the council will be a great form of trying to get this resolved.
Marianne?
I'd like to say on Justine's argument about biodiversity, we wouldn't want to lose that in the lake grounds. I think that's really important. And I completely agree with David and Bob about the, sorry, I've completely lost my trail of thought, but I completely agree with you that a mediation is required, and the owners of Glen Oakley definitely need to consult their neighbours about what would work going forward, because clearly the property does need renovation, but it needs to be in a way that would be in keeping with the area, and consulting the neighbours would be a great step forward.
Okay, thank you. So, committee, it's been proposed and seconded the objection to this LDP request. All in favour? That's unanimous. Thank you. Right, moving on. The two following applications are the same, 0421 full application and 0422 LBC, because it's in the conservation area, and it relates to the rear terracing and garden of number 49 Wood Hill. Comments from the floor? Any objections or comments? David?
Just going to say, I walked across the site earlier today as I was looking at the other site, which is close by. It does seem, looking at the, and there was work currently ongoing at the site, as I think has been recognised. This is a retrospective application, isn't it? But it looks from the road
retrospective, yeah,
reasonable. But I noticed that online there has been a neutral comment made, and it seemed to me that the comments made in the neutral comment are worth taking up, and they reflect the lack of specification about how the concrete retaining wall facing Battery Lane will be finished. There's concern about how water runoff will be managed from the site because of the increase in hard landscaping there. And there were some other concerns about the boundary between 47 and 49. They all seem like very neighbourly concerns which will be taken on board. But I guess if we're to comment on this, I think I'm happy with it, but it would be good to ensure these things are addressed in the final plans.
So we could put that as a comment on our observations. Jenny.
Yeah, and I have very similar comments to David. Before, just looking at the plans before going to look at the comments, I'd actually written down a question about runoff, because they are the plans are to put sandstone lookalike tile, paving on, I think, the second and third step down of the patio. And I mean, I don't know what's there at the moment, but again, that could cause problems with drainage. So I was going to ask, and it's only the very far bit of the garden, the far end bit, that has grass. It says it's going to be grass. So it would be really good if that could be grass, because to keep the biodiversity there. So, and then of course they then looked at the neutral comments from a neighbour and would actually agree with all of them. So, there's going to be some material that's going to look like wood, but actually isn't going to be wood. So, yeah, okay.
So therefore, any further comments? Shall we word this in such a way that there's no objection, subject to issues raised by the neighbours to be dealt with? Okay, Mike, got that in writing?
Sharon's recording it. Sorry.
Oh, Sharon's recording it. Well done. Thank you. So, proposer, please. David, seconded. Bob, all in favour? Yeah. Thank you. Unanimous? Okay, right. Moving on to the tree. Now, photo of tree. If I'll pass it around. The tree's already had a bough coming off into the Malifant's garden. You may be aware that Peter Malifant addressed council at Community Matters and has had a very in-depth survey done of the tree, which, if you read the paperwork online, is quite extraordinary what they went to do in penetrating the tree with all this ultrasound and such like. And I think the conclusion of that report was, if this tree isn't brought down within 12 months, it would certainly have to come down in a year's time. So the request is that the tree is felled. No one's quite sure who it belongs to, whether it's North Somerset Land or Town Council. I think it's on that sort of grey area. But if it did come... It's not Town Council. But if it came down in certain direction, it could hit Redcliffe Bay Hall. So the decision is really clear fell or leaving the stump as a monolith. Does the decision lie with the Malifants, in whose garden it's obviously very visible? Right. Decision, David, I think.
I suspect David's going to say what I want to say. So.
I think we need to take the advice from the arborealist, and there's been an awful lot of investigation, and good on Peter Malifant and the neighbours for taking this on, and they've looked after this from their perspective, but they haven't. But they're concerned that there's a risk of falling on. Actually, it's Portishead Town Council property. From what I understand from the presentation that Peter gave and all the paperwork, this tree belongs to no one. Will confess to owning this tree. I mean, confess isn't the right word, is it? The kind of there's no documentation to say who owns it, so it's not Portishead Town Council, it's not North Somerset Council. So, in the interest of public safety and our building safety, I think something needs to be done about it. My sense is, if you leave it as a sort of high monolith, there's still a risk of it falling down, and that would be unpredictable. So my sense is to reduce it to to fell it. I think I did raise the issue with Peter about the loss of replacing it with another tree, and he said at the time there were plenty of other trees around there, and there's no need to specifically plant one. So my sense would be to fell it completely and just allow nature to take its course.
Who supports the Mariam?
I was just going to say to fell or to monolith. I think they advised that to monolith it would be great for biodiversity in the area. So if if the experts think that they can manage to make a monolith of it that would not fall or be sturdy enough, then I'd be happy to go with their advice.
But your instinct is to clear fell it.
Yeah, whatever's safest.
Right. We have to declare an interest in so far as it is pertaining to come down, possibly onto the town hall there, Redcliffe Bay Hall. So we've had 1, 2. I'm in favour of clear fell. Anyone else clear fell? I think that's pretty well all of us. And so no objection, obviously, to this coming down.
I think the only thing to do is we need to get on with it really quickly
Mm.
because before too long it'll be in leaf and will be more challenging to take down. I think in terms of sort of mess created, and it's more likely to get blown over when it's in leaf, I suspect.
Well, I think the town council does use a particular arboriculturalist to deal with these things. Yeah, I need a proposal and a seconder for it.
Clarification from Sharon, please, that all TPOs need to be replaced if they're closed.
Right. Well,
So there will need to be a replacement tree.
right. But I don't think we're in a position to be making any decisions as to which species. No. So it was proposed by Marianne, seconded by David, all in favour of it coming right down. That's our instinct. Okay, 34 Rippleside, 0472, full application, proposed direction of a single story extension to the front elevation.
No objection to that. Guy on 38's got a similar tatty thing as well. And can't see a problem with it, really. No.
There's, I think, just a tree report that there's going to be a tree monitored as they do the building work as well in the front yard.
Mhm.
So I think it's quite okay. It's going to be monitored.
Any other comments? Jenny?
I'll make a comment. It's probably not relevant, but I did find the diagrams quite difficult to read. It was not easy. Yeah, it took me a long time to work out actually what was happening.
It's a slight extension taking over part of their driveway, I guess.
So, Martin, you're proposing that no objection, seconded by Marianne, all in favour, no objection. Unanimous, thank you. Tree again. I'm not sure, probably just making comments about this one. Thin canopy by 15% at Wood Bank on Woodlands Road. Remove the lower canopy. I believe this hasn't been done for quite a while, and so I think it's in probably need to go through that normal procedure and cycle that trees have to be done. Any objections? Any comments? Proposer, I'll propose it then, seconded by Bob. All in favour of it? No objection. Thank you. 0491, advertising at the former home base for B&M. You've seen the photographs online of the montages. Any comments? David?
The only thing that I was going to say, and I may have missed this, but there's a roadside advert pictured amongst the slides, which has home base at the top, then Pure Gym underneath and McDonald's at the bottom. And I couldn't see in the planning application what they intended to do with that. But I'm being less familiar with the paperwork than you guys are. I may have missed that. They've carefully addressed all the other signage that currently says home base, but that's the one thing they haven't talked about. And of course, I guess that's the most obvious bit of signage as you come into Portishead.
Well, one assumes that they haven't missed it out, but
I missed that completely.
yeah, I mean, you made a good observation. I didn't spot that either, but
I wonder whether that's not their responsibility and that signage is somebody else's responsibility for that area.
yeah, that's a good point. A bit like LCP at the precinct. Yes, yes. Right, okay. But anyone got any comments or objections or anything in relation to the other set of signs, Marianne?
The sign is going to be lit up. Sorry. Illuminated fascia sign. they look pretty online, what the signs could look like. I wonder if it's going to be too glaring.
They all do it, don't they? I think. Okay.
So I'd ask two questions. I'd ask about when it's going to be lit up, and if possible, it'd be nice for it not to be lit up. You know, during.
Well, I think the one on the road, which you've referred to, is illuminated from ground up, isn't it?
All day long, or all night long.
Oh, I don't know about that. Don't know.
So should we raise the issue about what's going to happen to that bit of signage? Because it'd be quite nice just to remove it, wouldn't it?
Yeah, okay. We'll make a note of that.
So, and actually it shouldn't be on all night long because it's not good use of energy and light pollution and all the rest of it. So I think we should request that it goes off when the street lamps go off.
Do they go off on that section of Wyndham Way? I'm not
I've
sure.
no idea.
I'm not sure they do.
No, they go off where
Anyway.
we live. So.
Yeah. Right. Okay. So we don't object to the actual signage, but we have made some comments in relation to the illumination and the one on the street on Wyndham Way, which we're not sure about. Okay. No proposer? Anyone propose? Seconded? All in favour of then? Thank you. Unanimous. 46 Hillcrest Road, 0450, full application. This is a variation to the consent that was given in 21. Loft conversion to allow for admission of metal access stairs to garden, change from glazed balustrading to the two sides of the external terrace to a low solid wall finished in cladding to match the adjacent surface. Comments from the floor? I've got no objection to this. No? Someone proposing it then, if there's no further comments? Bob, seconded by Marianne. All in favour of no objection? No. Yep, unanimous, thank you. 3A Woodside Gardens, again, a beech tree. Beech are very susceptible to kind of lumps falling off, aren't they? Clear the crown up to above 3 metres, Woodside Gardens, 0544 TPO. Any objections to this one? No. It's proposed by Bob, seconded by Tim, and all in favour of no objection. Thank you. 2 Woodhill Road, request to discharge condition 3. This is construction method on the building works that are going on there, which were on application last year, 0548 AOC. Any comments? No objection. It's proposed by me, seconded by Tim. No objection, unanimous. Yeah? Yep. Lake planning applications, agenda item 8, 3 Hillgate Close, non-material amendment to application 16. Gosh, that goes back a bit. Extensions to dwelling, creation of a first floor and balconies to allow for a change of proposed roof finish from tile to metal standing seam. This is application 0620. Any comments from the floor? Any objection? So proposal for no objection. Marianne, seconded by Bob. No objection. All in favour? Thank you. 3 Lily's Orchard, 0647, full application, proposed loft conversion with 1 dormer window to the north elevation to provide additional living accommodation and a new window on the south elevation at ground floor level. This is at the end of Lily's Orchard, I beg your pardon. The house at the very end. So the north facing window overlooks the Slade Road play area. Well, the Slade Road field rather. A couple of velexes in the roof in addition to this window which faces south. Does it? No, I thought it faced east. Anyway. No, I don't think so, no. Okay, proposing then. Yep, seconded by Marianne. All in favour of no objection. Unanimous, carried. Thank you. So, agenda item 8.2, which is the appeal which has been lodged against North Somerset Council's decision to refuse the application at 29 Hollis Avenue. This is a small 2-bedroom bungalow in the rear of the garden of the applicant's house. We made comments at the time which are online, and I personally don't feel that they need altering. We objected on the grounds that are listed. Do we wish to make further comments? We support this. We support the objection to this. Yeah.
I haven't changed my mind at all. That there are 20 very strong objections.
You're proposing that we keep the comments as they are?
Yes.
Seconded by Martin. All in favour of the comments remaining? Thank you. Did you wish to? Well, I think you live far enough away. Okay, you abstain, yeah. A named abstention on that one, yeah. Thank you. Well, committee, that's basically it. You've got your list of consents and things on the list, and the next meeting is on the 7th of May. Thank you for attending. Thank you very much, David. Thanks, Mike.